mean, machine learning, deep learning, NLP has been around for 9, 10 years. Maybe it was a black box. Deep learning, you couldn't really figure out what the answer was, but the answer looked great. But tell me, any one of you, right? I mean, would you trust if you were running a sales cycle and you had to bet your life on a number? Would you trust what your rep or RVP told you, or would you trust what a machine learning or deep learning model would tell you, or using NLP, subtext of conversation, stuff like that? Would you trust the sales rep and the RVP, or would you trust AI? Going
I'll
back to the
jump in
trust.
here. Yeah, I think we're getting more and more in a world where people will actually trust the AI, right? Because it captures all the data points and it will be a lot more objective, especially if you set out the right guardrails around your own framework or process, right? One of the things that I was going to add is, and a really good way to think about it, I think, is what is the cost of failure, right? If the cost of failure is minimal, then you can go ahead and put in an AI agent. And so even, to do forecasting, for instance, I think, hey, if every single model is probably going to be off by a few percentage points. So I think there you can be very secure about having an AI forecast. But if you're actually having a self-driving car, the cost of failure is gigantic, right? So that's a complete different way to approach things. So it's definitely kind of like one of the things. Yeah.
But I think
We
the
actually,
point the point you're making, which is interesting, because we were using at Max here, where I was last, we were one of the first companies to use Gong forecasting. But this falls under that augmented intelligence paradigm. And it was awesome. It was awesome. It ingested all this data historically. It measured all the interactions you're having. It had all this predictability. It helped you understand where things we had our sales methodology in it, but it still required the sales manager and the sales leader to check it. And so to your
But,
point, Anise, like,
but
would
Randy,
I
it did
trust running
because
my business
yeah.
on a selling agent that was going to go out and sell and have its embedded forecast and tell me what was going to hit? I mean, the cost of failure is really high in that context. I'd be anxious. But the power of the forecasting versus what we used to, I mean, I've been in sales forever. I mean, looks like Trevor, you were at Salesforce when I was there. It just, this monster process of going through like augmented intelligence with AI is going to make us all better. But I don't know on agentic, like when do you turn it over to have a agent leader, sales leader that's going to
well,
run
well,
your go to market?
I think we actually built this very example. So, I stepped into this new role. I had, Ed, Trevor, he gave me 7 days to get not
Yeah.
just a waterfall, but a bottoms up forecast,
Yeah.
with too many deals to be able to count and get insight on. So we used the product, for the go to market of which I lead to establish a workflow, scrawling data. And I think it probably produced some stuff similar to what you came to experience, Randy, from Gong, but it was essentially taking call transcripts and email back and forths and notes and account plans from within Asana. And I gave it a prompt that was my indication of what we use today to call a deal in or out. And then I would cross-reference that against my own interpretation of this just to determine, what was the quality of what was being called there. Fast forward to the end of the quarter, I think, what I was getting was really valuable insights in this extremely short amount of time as to where these deals stood without having to bother the salespeople for it. Um, but it turned out I had a relatively cynical take, up front as to the likelihood that these, or the prompt that I was using, that as to the likelihood these deals were going to come in, and we achieved better results than were immediately forecasted. Obviously, that's a great general outcome, but I think still today, as far as we can see, we require both. And I think this is why, you mentioned with the elimination of workflows too. I think it's more just the elevation of how those workflows, what they enable us to execute. Your son, or the next generation, I think has an opportunity, and I think this is what Sandy was hitting on too, is to step in and determine where is it that AI can still be really powerful. The agents can be deployed to perform these tasks. How is that continuing to evolve over time, and where do humans still need to step in and execute certain functions that are higher reasoning? And collaboration has been a mess for a long time as we get more and more into this world and we are automating a lot of the tasks, I think we'll start to face new problems about, those things that have made it most difficult for us to transform, for us to adopt these new ways of thinking and to collaborate and to have data. You mentioned, the MCP servers earlier. I agree. There's like, we should be spinning these up. Every tech company should be spinning these up, and will improve a lot of our ability to get access to the data that we need in order to perform the actions that we're asking for these to take already today. But I think workflows, and this is sort of like what Reid Hoffman's book about, the new AI world starts to get at, is that, we have these headlines, and we've seen it with the Industrial Revolution all the way through to today, that robots are going to take over, they're going to eliminate everything. I really see it still as an elevation that humans will need to evolve. Those that take initiative and start to learn, the things that will be required of them as our work gets elevated will, benefit. Those that don't, I think, may ultimately fear that their jobs will, become redundant.
Yeah, we also started to observe that the agent not only to help us to take on some of the repetitive tasks, it also helps some of our entry-level employees, some of the younger generation to accelerate their learning. Like
Exactly.
so now that we actually have fewer teammates, but that there are more moderators of the agents, but also we use agent to help us to read faster and then to learn more knowledge, to summarize all the experience that are gained. So we do observe that many of our younger generations that in our team that they have gained more than 10x or more experience in the last whole year just by moderating and observing that the multiple agents that kind of reporting to them. So I don't think agents are going to replace us, but it will definitely help us to all evolve. That help us to accelerating and help us to become better ourselves.